Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guys on Draft. The offseason for us in the fantasy world is in full swing while the playoffs go on. So we're jumping right into it. Another running back-centric episode. We will move through all the positions as we get closer to the combine and the draft, and we'll start to touch on that stuff.
Doggy.
But today, what are you singing? What are you singing?
You said all the positions. I said, can't wait to get the doggy.
All right. Oh, my God. So, anyway, while Mark's over there talking about whatever he's talking about, we will talk about fantasy, but the playoffs are in full swing. So before we talk about them and what just happened in the divisional round, I have two questions for you guys. We'll start with the first one, and we'll start with Mark. Mark, I have a would you rather question for you guys.
Okay.
The question is, would you rather, and this is taking in the Chiefs' fatigue at this point and the Taylor Swift of it all, would you rather see the Chiefs three-peat this year
No.
and then subsequently middle around for a couple of years and fall off a cliff after that? Or would you rather them lose and then kind of stay competitive and maybe win a couple more Super Bowls in the next 5 years? What do you got?
I would rather them lose this year because there are a couple of squads, primarily Buffalo, that I would like to see in the Super Bowl to take that crown from the Chiefs. And I think it would be good for the game for the Chiefs to stay competitive because what are we doing if not like wanting like ultimate competition, right, as fans, right? So I don't want to see them completely fall off a cliff because I do like Patrick Mahomes. I do. Despite everything that's around him, I think he handles himself really well. And I do think that he's an extremely talented quarterback. And to do what he's been doing with the level of people that they've brought in and have had in the past, it seems to not matter. So I love Patrick Mahomes. I love that the Chiefs are competitive. I think Andy Reid, unfortunately, is a goddamn mastermind. And I don't want to see them fall off a cliff, man. I want to see them give, Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincinnati, the rest of their division who's catching up. I want to see them give them, stiff competition for years to come. That way we can really get like a true AFC champion that represents the AFC in the Super Bowl, man.
What about you, Rocky?
Yeah, I don't dislike Andy Reid. I think he is a good coach. I don't dislike Kansas City. I don't dislike Patrick Mahomes. I'm tired of the clear calls that he gets because I feel like there's probably been 2 or 3 games this year where they flat out don't win, don't have the game-winning drive, and he just gets that flop was the most disgusting flop that I have seen in a long time and made him look effeminate and weak.
Okay, so now that your tangent's done, What's the answer?
I want them. I don't like either choice. I don't like either choice.
We got to pick one.
But if I'm given only one, I want them to win this year and be done. Then I want them to fall off the face of the earth.
See, I think I agree with him. It's already here. Let's just get it over with. Like Kelsey retire.
And then
Even though I do want Josh Allen to win.
I do too.
I see it be over with.
Yeah.
Something just bad. I don't know.
I want to see them implode. Is what because I think what happens is if they win this year and then the next year they don't, and the next year they don't.
Yeah.
Patrick, who's everything's kosher right now.
He is a baby.
He's going to start demanding a trade, or it's going to be Andy.
I don't know,
or
man.
it's going to be Andy Reid.
No, I don't think
I do. Like I think
much.
he's not too far from his brother.
You might be right as far as coaches, because let's remember, the NFL has short-term memory when it comes to coaches, right? They're talking about Mike Tomlin, for Christ's sake, being on the hot seat. Dude gives you like 18 years of consistent play. He's on the hot seat. Come on.
I mean, they're talking about
Ridiculous.
All right, so I got another question before you keep talking about this forever. So, talking about implosions, the implosion I want to happen is the Philadelphia Eagles, but 4 teams left. We'll go to Rocky first here. Is Jalen Hurts the third best quarterback left in the playoffs?
I would rank Mahomes. I would rank Allen above him. And I would rank Daniels above him. So I do not think he's the third. Now, Daniels doesn't have as long of a history, but the only history I have of Daniels is superior, and I have spotty with Hurts.
All right, now calm yourself down. What's your answer?
You can see the table lifting. He is definitely the third best quarterback left in the playoffs, and this is a perfect segue for me to vent about
Don't vent.
Washington.
No.
Because here it is.
Oh my God.
I actually feel bad for Commanders fans. Why?
This is
Because you're already at the peak. You're at the pinnacle. This is the best you're going to get out of Jaden Daniels. I'm tired of the Daniels versus Caleb Williams talk. Williams is the better pick. This is as good as it gets for you. You don't even return to the NFC Championship game for the rest of Jaden Daniels' career. This is your year. That's it.
I don't think that it has to be Daniels or Caleb.
The media's done that to me,
Listen,
though.
I think they're both good. I think Caleb, if you look at the stats, they're similar. The difference is I do see even quicker processing out of Jaden Daniels and slightly faster out of the pocket when he does need to run. That's the only, now he also has a better line. I think he's got good receivers, so there's a comparison. I think Caleb is going to be a fine pro, and I think next year he's going to increase. But for you to say that a quarterback that has looked this good but only thrown like 20 touchdowns, that's the high, I don't believe it. I think next year he could throw 30 touchdowns and still run.
No, not the fantasy standpoint. They're not getting back to the NFC Championship game for as long as he's their quarterback.
All right, so what I will say is, number one, you shouldn't be so hot. You just hired Ben Johnson. Take it easy, relax. It's not Jaden versus Caleb. It is in the media, but you're smarter than that. I think we could say that Caleb Williams is good. Right. I think we can say Jaden Williams is good. Jaden Williams. Did I just say?
Yeah, you're combining the two.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Jaden Williams.
No, they all look alike.
I wish I had both of them. Jaden Daniels, I think it's fair to say. I mean, look, Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. All right, so let me rephrase that.
It's a better runner.
Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback.
He's competent.
He's a good quarterback. He's not special throwing the ball.
He's not.
He's a great leader. He's a good runner. He's a tough guy. I think he fits all those things. He's not Jaden Daniels.
He's probably a good guy, good teammate. All those things are real.
Jaden Daniels, regardless of which, maybe they don't get back here. It's hard to get here. So, but I think Jaden Daniels is definitely the third best quarterback. He's probably having the best playoffs out of all four right now, if we went and looked at the numbers. But I think Jaden Daniels is the real deal. And I think Caleb Williams is too.
Here's what I would say, too. If you look just at the stats again, you said he's been the best. He's always,
I think, yes.
Right. He's also been the difference. Whereas Josh Allen, he ran 2 in short running touchdowns. Didn't throw well.
Well, did you watch the game?
I did, and
I
good
would push
defense
back
on
and
Baltimore, like snowing. I get all that. I look at of course, Jared Goff is gone. Jalen Hurts again, like it's spotty. Like he'll have an amazing throw, and then he'll have 2 bad throws in a row.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a question with Jalen Hurts and Daniels right now. But I will say, I think it's a Scott McDermott thing. Or who's their OC? Is that Joe Brady still?
Kingsbury.
No, in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Brady.
Yeah, they kind of, I don't know what they were doing in the second half. They went up 21-7. We got super conservative. But, all right, questions in the books. I want to remind everybody here, please, if you're seeing this on TikTok as a clip, go to our YouTube, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us there. In case they decide to shut TikTok down, you can still get your shorts there. You can still get your full episodes that you're probably not getting here on TikTok. Go to the YouTube, follow the guys on network, guys on sports, guys on draft. Don't leave us hanging.
Guys on anything.
Yep. All right, so draft strategy for running backs. That's what we're getting into today. We're going to touch on a few different things. We're going to see what I know. I feel like Mark has been playing fantasy for, like 40 years, and Rocky's been playing. I think combined, you probably have like 70 years of fantasy football experience at the table. So I am interested to see what you guys think, and I think this is the perfect subject for the offseason. Instead of talking about players so early, let's talk about what we think are the best strategies when you're heading into a draft. And we'll go with redraft here for these questions. Before we even get into some of the values of guys, I want to know if you guys have certain strategies. So typically for me, I'm a running back first guy. When I go into a redraft, I'm targeting running backs first. Mark, what about you? Is that something that you like to follow? What do you think the pros and the cons are of going running back first?
So as far as the running back is concerned, if it's one of the top tier, so I'll target whatever is available to me depending where I draft based on does that first tier really separate themselves from the second tier. So if we're talking I have the 6th pick and, as we stated, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, these guys are gone, then no, I'm not stretching. I'm not reaching for a running back here just to have one.
Yeah.
Because I think, you can later on in the draft fill that need. At that point, now I'm saying, all right, now I'm taking one of the top 3 wide receivers that come off the board because you're looking at the point differential, right? That's how you win fantasy football. You need the largest differential between your picks in that round versus obviously everybody else's or their draft value, right? So, I mean, that goes without being said, but sometimes you do have to break it down just to look at it this way. I will go, if I'm one of the very first few picks and one of those top tier running backs are there as well as the top tier wide receivers, 100% of the time I'm going running back only because I feel like the disparity between the running back tiers is much greater than that of the wide receiver tiers.
Okay, and Rocky, so do you agree with that and then actually juxtapose against what you said about the value dropping off a little bit? Do you think that because of the scarcity of the running back, does that, in comparison to wide receivers, does that necessitate maybe reaching still in the first round to get one of those
I think
top tier running backs, or just a starting?
No, it makes sense. It's a great question.
I think overall I agree with what Mark said, what you said. I will be honest, I will not be in a redraft league where I don't know the draft order prior to the draft. Because to me, if you don't, if they're picking the draft placement order at the draft,
you're a little bit of a diva.
No, you're screwed. Because my strategy is, I agree with you. I would add maybe a 4th or a 5th running back into that top tier. Maybe I still think CMC's got something left or Derrick Henry. But I think where we agree is there's probably 4 or 5 that are top or could be top, and then it declines rather quickly. And unless you get lucky with an up-and-comer, it's better to go take the running back. But if I'm the 6th pick, right, I'm going high wide receiver because I feel like most of the running backs are gone. But I'm doing my research like crazy. So, for instance, everybody who listened to me picked Bucky Irving.
That's right.
I didn't like Rashad White. I saw and I know college football, and I think that's part of the strategy too. If I know where I'm at, then I know I'm probably not going to get a running back I want. So let me go high wide receiver, but I'm going to be looking like crazy for a running back that I think can come up. And more to Mark's point, there's a much greater likelihood of a rookie wide receiver breaking out than there is of a running back, and we saw it this year.
Yeah.
You had Neighbors who was good. You had Harrison who was good. You had Brian Thomas Jr. I know I'm missing another rookie wide receiver.
Ramadunze did well.
Yeah, no, I mean, he did well. And honestly, you could have probably got him in what round, So to me, I think you're right. I think you have to go running back because the scarcity of true RB1s.
Okay, so then in direct opposition of that is zero RB, which is a strategy that's was kind of made famous, about 10 years ago, really people started getting into it. And if you don't know what that is, zero RB is kind of just drafting the best available at every other position, leaving RB for last, kind of supplementing waiver wire stuff. How do you feel about zero RB? Obviously, you just talked about the benefits of RB first, so we kind of know what that is, but where does it fit into where you're drafting? Do you ever implement it?
So I will tell you that out of all strategies, let's just start with this. This is the most butthole puckering strategy that you can go with, right?
Yeah, okay, I agree.
Because you are very fearful of the scraps that you're going to be left with if you go zero RB. That being said, I've been a little lazy this offseason. I keep all my data when I do all my drafts, right? Because again, I do a lot of drafts. So I just haven't analyzed yet as to whether or not my zero RB teams fared better than my running back heavy teams. So more to come on that once I do analyze that data. I'm willing to bet that they didn't, only because, there was a huge discrepancy. There was a big fall off this year, and there was a big fall off with guys that you expected not to be, like Devin Achane. He did not perform the way he should have. Breece Hall did not perform the way he should have.
We told you that.
And the crazy part is you would think to yourself, all right, so that really speaks to being pro zero RB run or RB zero, right? Because there are two guys that were taken religiously in the first and early second round that fell off.
Yeah.
So that shows you that you can replace that value later in the draft. But again, only if you're on top of your analysis, man. Because like you can't just go in blindly and be like, all right, round 9, Rashad White is my first running back, and be happy with that. You know, you have to do the analysis that Rocky is telling you about, that Bucky Irvin projects to be a better running back. Yeah. You know, and then even at that point, then you can even save a couple more rounds and really keep drumming the board for, you know, tight end, wide receiver, even get one of the. I tell you what, one of the biggest mistakes I made this year was that I didn't go early enough for one of the most for a dynamic quarterback. I kind of settled for mid tier, and it pounded me this year.
And you liked it. So anything to add to zero RB, Rocky, or do you think he said everything?
Well, I think zero RB made a lot more sense to me previous to, I think for a brief period, running backs were not the hot commodity. They weren't running quite as much. We were throwing a lot more. I think there's been a correction. Yeah. And so, you know, we had some running backs this year that, I mean, they were world beaters. I mean, if you had Saquon Barkley in your team, I bet you made the playoff just on him.
Yeah.
Did he have a bad game this year? Like, I was trying to figure out. I don't know that he had a terrible.
I think he had like one
it was okay,
mediocre game.
So I think RB1 or zero RB is risky right now. That's just me.
Well, the running back is back, baby. Saquon made sure of that. They gonna get paid.
Well, that's a perfect segue into a next kind of versus, which is you're talking about a guy like Saquon Barkley. I'm sure there's examples we could give. I'm sure you guys will give. I'm going to go to Rocky first here. But there's certain things you look for, or earmarks for running backs, or volume, and that's what we're going to talk about. Talent versus volume. What do you value more when you're kind of looking at who you want to add to the team or where you want to draft a guy? Are you looking more for top-end talent with maybe a committee mixed in or maybe like a specialization? Or are you looking for a volume guy where, like, you know, James Conner, not the best running back in the league, but a volume getter, a tough runner, you know what you're getting? Or you're looking at guys with high upside like a Devon A-Chain, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where do you go there? What do you prefer? What do you think works out better?
I prefer volume, and I prefer volume in either they're running the ball a lot or they're running the ball a good amount and they're a adequate or above average receiver out of the backfield. To me, I'll take a Derrick Henry every time. And I don't know, Derrick is a freak of nature because he's huge, but athletically, you're not looking at him and saying he's going to beat A-Chain in a 40-yard dash.
Yeah.
So to me, I just prefer the volume because volume's there in a good game and a bad game, and volume tends to mean it's more of a running back one and not a committee. So
yeah, what do you think?
So there's one thing that I predominantly look for in my running backs, and these are the running backs that I take high. And if you watched our episode last week, my top 5 running backs all fit this mold. They need to be an every down pass catching back. You need the volume. You don't just need the touches. Open your eyes up to catching the ball out of the backfield. I don't play leagues unless they're PPR. I don't like leagues that don't focus on PPR, only because the NFL has shifted now to having more dynamic players, that it's not just a running back league, right?
So let me ask you something real quick before you go on with that point. When you're saying, like, I think for me, I think it goes without saying, like, your top 5 running backs off the board has to be every down backs, pass catching backs, for sure. I think this question is probably better answered if you're thinking about the 10th starting running back that is maybe kind of on the edge of having a committee. Like, is this guy, are we going to bet on his talent even in the committee, or we're going to fade him because, you know, the volume?
So if we're looking at a
guy, but like,
well, I mean, like a maybe an Aaron Jones.
Yeah, like an Aaron Jones is perfect. Yeah, like how do you value him?
So I would look at it a couple different ways, right? So obviously you break down your draft board based on volume, based on talent. With a guy like Aaron Jones, I wouldn't hesitate to start looking at some of the younger guys that are primed for breakouts. I wouldn't hesitate to look at Bucky Irvin, who's primed for a breakout. I wouldn't even hesitate to look at a guy like Ashton Jeanty that's probably going to find himself in a serious situation next year.
Perfect, yeah.
Because he he's very talented, and you can't ignore that. So even if he starts off with lower volume, he's a human highlight reel. He's going to produce points more than likely. Whereas Aaron Jones is going to put up duds, guys like that, because they're going to be a little injury prone, especially as we can't, Derrick Henry again is an anomaly. All right, do not make him the barometer of this argument. Yeah. But running backs that are long in the tooth, it shows, right?
So what's good? This is perfect about what you're saying is that you're literally leading into our next little segment here, which is primed running backs versus established ones, and I think they go hand in hand with the volume and talent. So, talent, volume, all that aside, you could have a guy that's primed because of volume, and you could have an established guy based on talent, whatever. But I want you to keep talking to that, and I want Rocky to jump in. Is the primed aspect versus next year? Are you going Derrick Henry for sure, or are you leaning towards more a Bucky Irvin, which he might have primed already, but maybe I don't even know who would be primed, like a Ashton Gentry, who gets drafted to the right place, and you feel like, all right, this guy's primed to break out, or do I blow my second round pick on Henry? Do I go with the established veteran, or do I go with this guy that it's a roll of the dice? How do you sort that?
Yeah. I mean, to me, my way of thinking is I'd rather have a Justin Jefferson and an Austin Genty. Is that how you pronounce it?
Ashton Genty, yeah.
I'd rather have that duo than a Derrick Henry and a mid receiver that I'm going to get when my turn comes back around. So, and it's just whatever your preference is. I do think number of runs over their career matters. I do think that we called. Now you didn't. You said Derrick's going to have a great year. I was a little bit worried about the amount of wear on his tires. So I'd rather trust the rookie, who I think has the skills, and get the number one receiver on my board, and let somebody else take that risk with Derrick Henry.
Yeah. This is the age-old question, right? And again, it's all about evaluating talent when it comes to your draft position. Would I love to go, I'm on Ross St. Brown and come back in the second round and get somebody like, God, I don't even know. This is going to sound bad, but like James Cook.
Yeah.
Despite how well James Cook did this year, he's not going in the first round next year. He's just not doing it. I would do that all day long, as opposed to getting Derrick Henry and then settling for a Terry McLaurin, right?
That's the receiver I almost used.
Yeah,
because that's normally.
Oh man, not me. I have him. Didn't I have him last week?
Yeah,
I have him blowing up next year. But yeah.
Well, and I think you're right. You look at what he did this year, and you have to say he's blowing up next year. But traditionally, this year that probably would have been your choice, Derrick Henry and now you would have got lucky this year.
Yeah,
and Terry would have outperformed any projections
easily.
But I almost said Terry, but then I'm like you. I think, okay, they figured something out. But it's a good point. I think you have to kind of just weigh all those options, and it's hard. They're hard questions. I tend to like rookie backs because they're fresh, and because the right rookie back can get into an offense and move fantasy points quick.
Yeah, I think to put a bow on it, and you guys can chime in, I think that with the strategy for running, it's tricky because there's so many injuries, committees you don't know are coming. It gets a little crazy. I think that for me in redrafts, I like to kind of play the board by the best guy available kind of deal. Because I think once you get into the midst of a season, unless you got that top 3 running back, the difference between whoever else you got and who you could maybe acquire in a trade or who you could pick up on waivers after an injury, I think you just have to be really vigilant about your waiver wire process, your transactions, and just kind of staying on top of it. Now, if you got a Saquon, you can plug and play, let him ride the whole season. But if you want to get some really high-end talent at wide receiver, maybe take an early quarterback, Lamar Jackson early, or the best tight end available, you can kind of go that way and try to play the waiver wire a little bit. I don't know what you guys think.
You brought up a great point. There's nothing worse than those surprise committees. You're like, all right, this team's set at running back, no problem. What why is Ashton Janty going to the Eagles? What could they possibly want out of Barkley and Janty? Like that's
Two-headed monster.
That when you draft as early as I do,
Yeah.
that is such a friggin' gut punch that it's not even funny.
Yeah.
You
it
get
is.
into camp and your guy's not getting all the carries.
Yeah, and it's awful. And you sprung, a third round pick on Ashton Janty, and because you went 0 running back in the first 2 rounds, got 2 stud receivers, and they're like, son of a bitch, man. Now he's the third down back in Philly type of thing.
But it works the other way too, because like a lot of us went high on Blake Corum, thinking, hey, they're not drafting that guy to sit.
Yeah.
And then he kind of did.
Sat.
he sat.
Yeah, and so it can be frustrating. The whole running back by committee, boy, I miss the 80s.
Yeah, so do I.
We go with the 90s.
Thurman Thomas rushing the ball, jamming it down your throat 25 times a game.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was great. We're going to do the same thing next week. We'll do wide receivers. We'll talk some strategy. And we're going to do this as well. We're moving on. We're going to talk about rankings, RB finishes. And what we're going to focus on is 12-man leagues. We're going to look at RB1s, or RB1s and RB2s. Basically, a starting running back on your fantasy team in the 12-man league this year. We're going to have Mark and Rocky. They're going to pick 2 running backs that didn't fall into that we think can move into that territory. So basically, a guy that sat on your bench or was in the flex position this season that can move up to being a starting running back for your team. And then they're also going to pick one guy that was a starter this year that they feel like has the potential to drop out.
Yeah.
Are you ready over there, Mark? You need your notes?
Yeah, I was trying to look at what I think I remember what my top 5 was last week, but I'm not 100% sure. I just want to make sure that I'm
and we're talking like running backs that are probably falling out of the top 12 maybe.
Your top 12, yeah. 12-man league, RB1 on each one of those teams this season, if it's slotted that way, right? Which of them, can we get 2 running backs to jump into that top 12 and one guy that's going to fall out of it?
All right. I'll start with
one
riser.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is a guy that I actually, by luck, ended up with in a lot of my leagues and who performed really well for me. I think he's going to be running behind a much improved line with a better second-year quarterback, with a good receiving core on a team that I do think is going to be better next year, and that is DeAndre Swift with the Chicago Bears. Stats this year, 959 yards. He also had 42 receptions. He had 6 touchdowns. I think next year he's probably going to hit around 1,250, 8 touchdowns. I think he's probably going to come back a little bit in receptions with a second-year quarterback, but still could have 30. And I think he'll have another 3 touchdowns. So to me, I think he's elevating into that fringe first round. And I think he's somebody that people might let slide.
I think he'll definitely slide. And you correct, did Ben Johnson and Swift cross paths in Detroit, or was that like
because this
this
was
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. No, Swift spent how many seasons in Philly? Was it 2? Or
I
1?
don't remember. I think
No,
it
I
might
think
have
it was
been
only 1.
Yeah.
So they
I
should have
think there
crossed
was
paths.
So
one
maybe
year,
his last
yeah.
year was Ben Johnson's first. Well, I think there's very possible that I know for sure he's going to be undervalued unless he pops off in a preseason game or something. But I think he could get the Jahmyr Gibbs treatment over there, and as long as he can stay on the
100%.
field,
Yeah.
I mean that's a good one.
Here's the bad thing regarding that is that just in recent memory, Chicago doesn't necessarily. Ever since Matt Forte, we have not really bought into our star running back, right? David Montgomery, we let him walk. Jordan before him walked. So I love it. I think Swift with Ben Johnson coming in is a perfect fit because he should definitely get the Jahmyr Gibbs treatment. He's that type of guy.
Yeah.
The only thing I worry about is the surprise committee thing and Ben Johnson wanting to get his guy and go out there and getting Ashton Janty at pick 10.
Yeah, he might. Yeah.
It's a very real possibility, and we might just address offensive line through free agency.
Yeah. Right, which I think that I've already heard that they're in on like one of the number 1 offensive linemen from the Rams.
Yeah,
They're probably going to be a player.
Everybody, from what I'm reading, everybody wants to come play for Ben Johnson too. So, I mean, it's a very real possibility that we get that surprise.
All right, so who's your
So, you bastard, you took one of my guys because I was going to highlight DeAndre Swift, but I'll go with one of the guys that I put into my top 5 last week, and that's Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving, was not even, he went undrafted. Let's just put it that way. In a lot of redraft leagues in the beginning of the season, right? Yeah. Hindsight's always 20/20, but try to remember back to the beginning of the season. Bucky Irvin was not on anybody's list, right? It was Rashad White. He was on Rocky's list, to his point. It was Rashad White. They had a third guy in the mix there. And Bucky Irvin was one of those, hey, get him and stash him types of guys,
Sean
right?
Tucker, who you were real high on.
Yeah. Well, Sean Tucker blew up one game. But with that being said, Bucky Irvin looked the part. The guy's explosive. I mean, if you watch the film, the guy jump cuts. He's a very, very dominant pass catching back, and he gets between the tackles, and he can outrun. Yeah. He can outrun you on the edge.
Everything you said. He's every down back.
He will be an every down back for sure.
Good receiver out of the backfield. I didn't see a big drop off between him and Rashad in the receiving either. So yeah, he is I think a big riser, and I think he's still going to be outside of people's core number ones.
He will go, if you're not taking Bucky Irvin before the middle of the second round, then you've missed out.
Yeah. And here's the deal too. Even though I like to bother Rashad White, he didn't look bad either.
No, he didn't look bad.
And so that's the fear. That's why Bucky will fall out of the first, is that people are still going to be uncomfortable. It was Rashad, the Rashad of 2023, or was he the Rashad of 2024? Yeah. You don't know.
Was this Rashad's? If this is Rashad's fourth season, then he's a free agent then.
I don't think it's his fourth season.
Is it only his third?
Yeah, I think it's third.
I think he was coming into his fourth season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So then they would have to retain him.
No, I think this upcoming season is his fourth.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
All right, who's your next riser?
I'll
look that up while you do that.
Next riser is a guy that you'll probably be excited about, and that is another team I think that's up and coming. I think they could find a surprise quarterback. It's really funny because Shedeur Sanders doesn't want to play in Cleveland because it's cold, but the New York cold is different. He's okay with playing for the Giants. So I think Tyrone Tracy with the Giants is a running back that we all highlighted in the preseason. We liked that he was somewhat of a converted wide receiver, but had the size for a running back. Last year, his stats, 839 yards, 5 touchdowns, 38 receptions for one. I think next year he's getting close to 1,200 yards with 8 touchdowns, and I think possibly with a new or a rookie quarterback, he could get into that 40 to 50 range for receptions. Shedeur looking for a quick out. So, and I do think Shedeur is going to the Giants.
I think so too.
So another guy I want to highlight here, and he, provided that there's no draft day shenanigans, he will easily project as a top 12 running back, and that is Chase Brown in Cincinnati. The only reason why Chase Brown wasn't taken so highly last year is because, if you remember,
we were drinking a Zach Moss juice.
Zach Moss was supposed to take over, bell cow duties there. That didn't pan out. Chase Brown. Now, we were high on Chase Brown. We alerted you to Chase Brown very, very early on, and that is because of his versatility. When he took that starting job and he never looked back, and he fit the part. Guy's a fantastic 3-down back. He can catch the ball. He is very elusive. He's not the bruiser, so you're gonna, he's gonna seed goal line opportunities. Especially, they love to throw to Chase down on the goal line, and also Higgins. But you are going to get a lot of chain moving scenarios out of Chase Brown. You're going to get him in a lot of, third and manageable pass catching opportunities where every once in a while he's going to break one for you. And he is undoubtedly going to crack the top 12 fantasy running back scorers next year.
Nice. A hard guy to argue against. The year before, I think one thing that we all highlighted was he had one of the highest yards after contact.
Yeah. It was 9.9, if I remember correctly.
He's quick. He's got the speed to get around. He's got the size to go through.
I will say one thing. We did hype up Zach Moss as well.
We did.
So take this with a grain of salt, and this is exactly what we were talking about. There is your committee by surprise turned into Zach Moss being an afterthought. So stay on your toes. If you did listen to us, though, you got Chase Brown and supplanted Zach Moss, and it didn't hurt you so much. But, Rocky, now this might hurt depending on who the guy is that you're going to name here. Who is your running back that's going to drop out of the top 12?
Yeah, and this is a running back that outperformed, I think, every single one of ours expectations. Another young team that isn't quite good, but looks to show some signs of getting better. I just don't believe in him. And here's why. I've seen multiple seasons of subpar running. And then this year that he seemed to break out. And to me, the running back you just mentioned, he reminds me of a possible Zach Moss, and that is Chuba Hubbard. I see the volume, but I don't always see the talent. I think this year was a volume situation.
He's the ultimate volume guy.
Yes.
So I'm surprised you're out on him.
Yeah. Well, but to me, there's like volume with some talent. I don't know. There's at least, I think that was his third year. Yeah. There were 2 ugly years where he just couldn't seem to find anything. So maybe the play between having a somewhat running quarterback helped him. I don't know. But I don't think he's going to be bad. I just think he will be overdrafted next year, and I'm going to sit out on that one.
I think I could side. I get that. I think I'll be on the same boat with you. What about you, Mark?
So there's a couple guys here that I really think I could highlight, but let me go with one that's going to probably go through the most change. That's David Montgomery in Detroit, right? So you have the offensive mastermind, Ben Johnson, leaving for the greatest city in America, and you have insert new offensive coordinator here, right? I just think that the years are stacking up against Montgomery. I think the injuries are stacking up against Montgomery. And God damn it, when Jahmyr Gibbs is the only guy in that backfield, if you're not considering him one of the most dynamic running backs in the league when he's in that backfield by himself, then you're just an idiot and you don't know ball.
I think we both had him at 3 last week, right?
Yes, yeah. And that's only because of the uncertainty with Montgomery. Now, Montgomery will probably still get some goal line touches. I just don't think we're going to see Montgomery in as many packages as we did this past season. And I think it's because of the emergence and the dominance of Jahmyr Gibbs. Talk about a guy that has vision. I watched the playoff game, and even though they lost, he waits for his blocks, he sets his blocks up, and he's got scoot like not many people have, right?
Yeah, it's surprising.
He can catch. He can run between the tackles, and God damn it, if he goes outside, you're not going to touch him. He's gone. And I think for those reasons, I think the new offensive coordinator that comes in is going to have to really rely on that as they get, as they kind of enforce their will. And, for me, I just don't think that Montgomery's going to have the volume next year that's going to secure him a top 12 spot again in overall fantasy running back points.
Yeah, I can see that. And, I have information on Rachaad White. I want you guys to pull out get into your emails while I'm talking here, so we could do our next little thing we're gonna do. Don't open anything yet, but yes, Rachaad White, he's heading into the final year of his 4-year contract, so he will be in Tampa for one more season, along with Sean Tucker. And I want to remind you guys out there, if you're liking the episode, please like and subscribe. Go to YouTube. If you're not already there, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, head over to TikTok, follow us. I think we're going to start pouring some of the content in over at Instagram. So find us on Instagram at GON Podcast, and we appreciate you. So what we're going to do now is a little segment that I think we're going to try to do during the offseason called Do You Remember?
You remember?
I sent you guys photos of some old school running backs. And the order I want you to click on these is you should have 5 of them. Start with the most recent one you received, and we'll count down to it. And then whoever can guess it first gets the point. All right? Now, you don't have to give me a whole life story about how you know them. Just tell me who they are. You guys ready?
It's just one.
Is that, yeah, you already opened it, Rocky, right? All right.
So it's the first one?
Yeah.
Deuce McAllister.
Deuce McAllister.
Okay, that was too easy, right? All right. Yeah, you guys are old.
All right, tell him.
Hang on. Let me get.
Wait, no. He's got to count down, dude. We got to look at it the same.
Yeah, he keeps cheating. Don't cheat.
Well, because I have to download it first. That's why. But let me.
You have to download it. What do you have?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. You looked already.
No, I didn't see
Go
anything.
ahead.
Oh, that's oh my God, Ryan Grant.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
No, wait, that's not Ryan Grant. You're wrong.
Is it not?
No,
Hang on, let me look.
nope, you're wrong. They have a lot of running backs that match this profile. The other guy,
He looks
like Ryan Grant, but it's not. Think Ryan Grant.
1,000% it looks like Ryan Grant.
Now, this was the glory years. This was Favre. This is not Rodgers' era. You got it. It's on the tip of your tongue.
Oh,
Yes,
my
I do.
God.
Yes, I do. And I cannot for life me
gonna
think
give
of
you-
Oh, my God. He ran with Edgar Bennett. They were running mates.
10. You got it. You're an NFC North guy. You
Oh,
should
my
know
God. No, but I have a block because he also looks like the Minnesota
this.
dude, Robert
He
Smith.
wore the same number as Ryan Grant. That's why
Yeah,
you think
he looks like Robert Smith.
He looks like Robert Smith
Yeah.
in a Packers uniform. But he ran alongside of Edgar Bennett. His name is
5, 4, 3. Nobody?
I'm going to be so mad.
Dorsey 11.
Oh,
Damn it.
my God.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. We're going to count down to the next one. 3, 2, 1.
Natron Means.
Yeah, Natron means
Yeah,
business. Yes.
That was good. Natron Means. I remember I had his Fleer.
Dude, let me tell you, so like you mentioned, I've been playing fantasy football for forever. One of my first teams, my early on teams, I had the Bus and the Trone Means. And let me tell
The
you,
bus when he was with San Diego too?
No.
Or after he got traded?
yeah, when he went to Pittsburgh, I had the two of them, and yeah,
Natron means
Are you
business.
ready? So
Yeah.
how long's the delay on yours?
A couple seconds.
so's mine.
So-
Mine's a couple seconds too.
So you feel like, I don't know. All right, we'll go 3, 2, 1.
It's Robert Smith.
Robert Smith.
Robert
yeah.
Smith. It's funny that. So did yours just pop up when you said it?
It popped up a second after he said it. Yeah.
So
That's
there's got to be a better way to do this.
yeah.
I'll give him-
That's a problem. But yeah, no, this is. I honestly.
Did you already-
That's what threw me off. Is that
You know what we
the
could
Green
do?
Bay Dorsey looks like Robert. I
Yeah.
was like, why is Robert Smith in a Green
So
Bay?
why don't you guys
uniform?
just look at my screen?
All right.
All right, that's fair.
Can you both see? All right. Last one here. Don't mind that.
Pornography.
The
Yeah.
nudie pick.
3, 2, 1.
Oh gosh. 32, 30,
Oh.
32.
Oh my God, Garrison Hurst.
Nope.
Oh gosh. It's not Roger. It's not Roger Clark.
Roger Craig, you mean?
Roger Craig. 32.
That's not Garrison Hurst.
No.
Who is 32 for
It's a
the-
good guess. It's a good pull. You guys, do you want a hint yet, or you want to?
Yeah.
No. It's not Ricky Waters. It's Ricky Waters.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
He won.
I thought that would have been too. I thought that was going to be a little too obvious. It looked like
No, it was Ricky Waters.
no kidding.
That's just one of my favorite all-time names. That's the first guy I thought of.
Ricky.
For who? For what? Remember alligator arms going across the middle in Philly?
Yeah.
For who? For what?
All right, so yeah, that is. Do you remember? So the pictures you guys seen, the pictures were underneath. I want to know how many of those guys you guys remembered, or if you're too young to remember, because I know we skew younger on TikTok. But yeah, that's the episode. That's the running back episode. Come back next week. We will do the same thing for the wideouts and so on and so forth leading up to the draft. We thank you for joining us. Rocky, Mark, thank you guys. We love you. Like and subscribe. Peace.
OH.